following what Stephen's been talking, I am going to make a point that the old AEC, the AEC that we are having today is getting outdated. And if we do not move fast, as Stephen also suggested, we may be outdated. So let me show you what happened. I have some slides so that it would facilitate the presentation, would make it faster. The operator can move the slide forward. Just to go back a little bit, just to remind ourselves, when we started this so-called ASEAN, the political and economic scenario was completely different from what we have today. 50 years ago and now, 50 years ahead, we are going to see something very, very different. At that time, as shown here, we were in the process of nation building after the Second World War. And we were not allowed to do that independently or by ourselves. We were intervened by the major powers, by the US, wanting us to adopt democracy and to go market economy. And then at the same time, there were this China and Soviet Union, communism, socialism, and the US was so strong about trying for us to go along with the West. If you recall the Truman Doctrine about communism, you'll be surprised that President Truman and President Trump are very similar. So you go back to history, you can see the Trump Doctrine and the Truman Doctrine have a lot of similarity. As a result, we were going through all kinds of trouble. The Vietnam War, Korean War, 53, Korean War also from the Truman Doctrine. And now the Korean North and South Korea under the so-called Trump Doctrine. We were having the Vietnam War from 1605 to 75, and the Cold War for the whole period. That's what happened. So we had to choose which way to go within that kind of environment. I myself, and people of my generation, which was a long time ago, we were choosing industrialization. When we study industrialization. We said that our economy should go industrialized. And we were supported by the West. We went to Australia, we went to the US, and so on. These countries, I think they were spending money on us, on people like me, to keep us on their side. So we were very much indoctrinated by the Western idea of democratization and industrialization. When we formed ASEAN, and I show you this period, on the screen you can see, after a while, from 1967 to 1992, I think it became clear to all of us that we have chosen the side of politics. I call it government by representation. I don't call it democracy because I cannot say that we have democracy in all of our cases, including even Thailand today. We say some representation, of course, at the moment is represented by the military, but still it's some kind of representation. But we all supported market economy, as you can see that we signed on AFTA. That was in the principle of market economy, of open economy of scale and everything. And the other things that follow. Relationship we had with others, plus the move forward to become the so-called community by 2015. That was happened. Now, achievement, we have had all kinds of economic achievement. The numbers are very telling. When we have more than 5, 6 countries, then finally we have 10. The 10 ASEAN countries, I can confirm, I can say this with myself, with my own observation. I have seen things improve everywhere. I have been traveling in all these countries for the last 40 years, more than 40 years. And I feel better and better and better all the time, more comfortable, more friendly relationship with people, and so on. So that's the real achievement, including the GDP. People have become much better off. Of course, not good enough yet, but much better off. and the growing degree of urbanization happening everywhere. Happening everywhere. It's amazing. But of course, have we reached the potential? No, not full potential. The pictures show here, if you categorize potential or achievement in terms of sectors, I think we've done well in the trade in goods, but we have some achievement, not as much in services, and not as much in the investment, people moving and so on. I think the reason is because some of these sectors are really not tradables, and therefore it's more difficult to integrate the non-tradable sectors. Now, what's next? I can move fast so that we can discuss the future rather than going to the past. I think if you ask the question whether we are achieving potential, I would say that the potentials are shifting. The potentials are changing, and the environment is changing also. So issues confronting us for AEC are different for the next 50 years. For the next 50 years. Why do I say that? I am seeing two things. First, it's about industrialization model. We are into a new model of industrialization. Second, we are in the so-called global regulatory regime. We are being affected by global regulatory regime. There is no exception. Everyone must comply, including we have signed on with these so-called sustainable development goals. So we have committed to many of the issues which are global, which are becoming global regulatory regime, applying to all of us. Now, look at first at the model of industrialization. When we started, the model was just going to the scale economy. And from the scale economy, we go to the global supply chain. We became very successful in the process of global supply chain, using mechanization, automation, and transportation. And in all of that, the fossil fuel was a major factor, determining who would have the advantage, what we would have to do, the fossil fuel. Now, we are going into what I call data economic, platform economics. Because of the development of the electric power and the advanced application of electronics, it's wonderful what people have been able to use electrons. Changing light to power, changing power to light, all about operating the electrons. This is a human achievement which is unbelievable. So from that, we are able to create platform, are able to create data. And from that, what I call the next generation of industrialization would be cyberized industrialization, meaning industrialization with connectivity through frequency, operating anywhere in the world. This is my own terminology, cyberized industrialization, or cyberization. On the other side, the regulatory regime, we are into the globalized world economy, new rules and regulation, environment requirement, global warming requirement. We are subject to this regulation on IUU, the illegal, unregistered, unreported fishery. We have to comply with carbon printing. Whatever we sell, we'll have to prove about the carbon printing and so on. And the human rights, the trafficking in person. We are now encountering all kinds of issues about trafficking in person and the financial security and crimes. The IFRS 3, Basel 3 apply to all of us. FATCA, whatever accounting you have to report if you operate internationally, etc., etc., etc. This is like, when we had King Rama IV, when he did not know what to say next, he said, etc., etc., etc. That was in The King and I, the movie The King and I, if you recall. So, on the bottom line, you can see, ASEAN Economic Community, we have the economics of cyberization in front of us, confronting us, facing us, plus the globalized regulatory regime. These are the two new things in life. that we cannot avoid. Therefore, what should we do? This is my proposition, and I will stop for the debate. I would refer to this as the AEC in the era of cyberization. Non-stop. I can tell, I have grandchildren. They're no longer interested in eating. They're no longer interested in talking to me. They are just with their mobile phones. No food, no problem. No battery, dead. That is their principle of life. So with that, with AEC in the era of cyberization, we have to go beyond ASEAN. It's about time we go beyond ASEAN. In what way, how? Number one, how to do that? We must accelerate the process of implementing all the agreement, as Stephen said. We must rush. If we don't, the new generation will pass us, will go and do somewhere else by themselves. And at the same time, we must allow access to some non-members, meaning that ASEAN itself is not enough for the new generation. Not enough for the new generation. So we need to strengthen all the things that we do ASEAN, and we must allow access to new members. We can do that by the so-called ASEAN Plus or by ASEAN. That is a natural development. Because if you take a country like China, Korea, Japan, they're so advanced in this cyberization. They're so advanced in all the things that I will mention here, the cyber industrialization, the cloud storage, big data, robotic application, artificial intelligence, digital world, etc., etc. They are so advanced. In fact, I now prepare myself to become a cyborg. Meaning Narongchai equipped with all the artificial intelligence so that I would not lose my memory. I start losing memory now, so I would not lose it. And eventually, I will have my humanoid so that I can work with my humanoid, so that I can work longer and longer for the people. So this area, they are very good. And at the same time, we must try our best to comply with global regulatory requirements. We cannot avoid that. We need to have ASEAN time frame for trade-related regulatory regime. And to do this, we need strong institutions. This morning, we heard about this, the so-called making ASEAN institutions stronger. I'd like to refer you to the task force report of ASEAN in 1986, prepared by or led by Kun Anand Panyarachun. In that report, we suggested two things, major things. Number one was AFTA, and we achieved AFTA. Number two, we want to make the ASEAN institution stronger by having what we call ASEAN Economic Council, Ministerial Council. And with ASEAN Secretariat being a professional body, recruiting professionals to work for ASEAN, we achieved the number one, the AFTA, which led to many things. But the second, the Secretariat is still the baby of foreign ministries. And we think that is a real limitation of ASEAN. So please, if you follow the recommendation this morning, and this accelerating AEC as suggested by Stephen, I think we can move into the so-called cyberization era and complying with all the new global regulatory requirements. Thank you very much.